Today's ancient witness comes from the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verses 4b through 6 and 8, from the First Nations translation of the Bible. I greet you with great kindness and peace from one who is and was and is to come, and from the seven spirits who stand face to face with him as he sits in his seat of honor. I also greet you from Creator sets free, Jesus, the chosen one. He is the honorable witness, the first to rise from among the dead, and the grand chief over all who rule the earth. All honor belongs to the one who loves us, the one who, by giving up his own lifeblood, sets us free from our own bad hearts and broken ways. He has made us to be chiefs of a sacred nation, kingdom of holy men and women who represent the good road of his Father, the Great Spirit. All honor and power belong to him from the ages past to the time beyond the end of all days. Aho. May it be so. I am Alpha and Omega, the one who is before all things and beyond all things, says the Great Spirit Chief. I am one who is and was and is to come, the all-powerful one.
I've been thinking a lot this week about the presence of time, how we live in the present moment. And in this present tense moment, we have both a remembered past and an anticipated future. And I will say that I'm fairly good at holding on to memories in terms of either what particular thing, something happened, or how long ago that thing may have occurred. And this week, I was on a video call with a few friends, and we were trying to remember something common to each of us that happened. It was difficult to recall what would be the normal procession of events, and it turns out that both of us were carrying this view of time where we had just lumped 2 years together as one long year. Perhaps you feel this way too. For example, I remember rather vividly that the church I was attending in March in 2020 shut down in March of that year. And that took place on a Wednesday night after choir practice, and based on recommendations from the local school district and university, the council there decided to temporarily close the church. And I know that was a hard decision, but the onset of COVID was an unprecedented time, as you can. And I suppose what also helped me remember the timing was the mad run on toilet paper at the local grocery store. Pretty hard to forget that. Kind of a blur after that, though. Well, that time frame from spring of 2020 to the end of 2021, maybe even spring of 2021, all kind of runs together for me. Seems like one big chunk. And during that time, so much seemed to unravel and so much seemed to come undone. All so quickly, it seemed, and it was definitely a challenging time period. And don't get me wrong, there were meaningful things that happened for me during that 2-year period. Just takes me a minute to figure out exactly when each might have occurred. And perhaps you feel the same way about that period of time. And so with the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, it brings to mind things that I am grateful for, like you and me being here, getting on the other side of that shutdown for COVID, and certainly for the shifting landscapes of the Palouse. I'm grateful for this last bit of 40-degree weather before the ice of the winter season arrives. I can tell you I did not write that statement this morning. But what does it mean to be grateful? If I were to consult the dictionary, I would find it to be a feeling of or showing an appreciation of kindness, an idea summed up in the word thankful. Having a feeling and acting on it. I suppose in some sense that is the faith we carry inside of us, the same faith of our Christian ancestors. And around the year 95 Common Era, a person who goes by the name of John from Patmos, not the same John who walked about Galilee, but a different John, wrote this letter we heard to the 7 faith communities located in what is now Turkey. He called it the Great Revealing, and let it serve as a reminder that God is God, and faith isn't static, and Christ will reign supreme. That faith is something that is moving. Now, John opens the letter with a reminder that God was God in the past, God is God in the present, and God will be God in the future. The one who is and exists throughout all of time. And in this opening, he notes that Jesus came as a witness to the ways of God, and that Jesus was a living example and embodied existence who was concerned with compassion and justice seeking. Now, some seek to emulate Jesus as a model of one into whom we grow. It's something we journey toward in our faith over time, so much so that it governs over us, sort of directing our actions. And in a sense, we are the embodiment of the reign of Christ. And although we may not always manifest the reign of God, we are working towards that. And we can also use Jesus' passion for kindness and justice as a model to measure the rulers of the earth, whether it be the Roman emperor of old or politicians in the present time, might even say entertainers in the present time. And one of the things John is trying to reveal is that governments come and go. But for people of faith, Christ reigns forever. But this reign of Christ is not really about the supremacy of Christ and Christianity, is it? Not like ruling on a throne of vengeance and punishment and making all peoples of the land subject to Christianity as a law, but more so as a guide towards living and loving. The theologian Alison Connolly Vetter says that to think about Christ as a ruler in relation to her own sources of authority and wisdom is very meaningful, very affirming, and even freeing. She writes, "I do not rely on myself alone, nor on the imperfect systems of politics and society in order to find my ethical and moral grounding. If Christ is king and the ultimate moral authority, then I am not, and for that matter, neither are people who ban books or gender-affirming healthcare or honest conversations about sexuality and identity." So, today is a good day to remember that the guiding forces of our universe are not fascism, they're not nationalism or hatred, but rather love, care, and justice. Because for Christ, living is loving. And that love is expressed through a compassion that is concerned for justice. So I believe the question was, what does it mean to be grateful? Well, gratitude is a disposition. It's a practice. It's a way of holding on to something and saying, thank you for the opportunity. It's a way of looking for the sacred in the ordinary and relishing the unlikely wonder of being alive. As we approach Thanksgiving, many of us will soon gather with loved ones. And somewhere in the meal preparation, the boiling of the tea that warms our bodies, and the conversations we'll share at the dinner tables, the lunch tables, we will reflect on the events that have occurred throughout the course of this year. It has undoubtedly been a year of challenge, from the devastation brought by multiple hurricanes to the wildfires that swept through western Idaho. Not to mention the ongoing demands of balancing our finances, our family, and our health. But because we are people of faith, we will also find moments of joy, of love, and peace, which to give thanks in the midst of it all. Perhaps we may find hope. Perhaps you'll go for a walk in the woods or in the park and think about the vastness of the cosmos. Maybe you'll go to a museum and take in the art. But know that the same God that created the universe made this earth. And on this earth, with all its forests and its fields, God created you, just the way you are, with all your talents and idiosyncrasies, those particular things that make you who you are. God created in and by love. And this same God that created you also created Jesus. And Jesus modeled that love. And know that Jesus went for walks in the woods and the fields and considered the vast cosmos. He spent time with friends, colleagues, and strangers. And all this helped him to develop a worldview. And as we approach Advent, as we move through this season of gratitude, know that Christ's journey to earth isn't about Christ. It's about the people he met and loved. The people he encountered came to love him and change him. Because without the bold witness of that unnamed Syrophoenician woman, Christ does not understand the power of an inclusive ministry. Without his disciples, he cannot meet the needs of thousands of people who are hungry for a liberating word and meal. And let's remember that his first miracle of turning water into wine was only at the request of his mother. Sometimes weddings run out of wine. Each of us needs people. We may feel the temptation in the coming days and weeks and years to sit out and isolate. That it is through other people that we are fortified to do the right thing. And isn't it so much easier to be courageous when we have someone's couch to cry on afterwards? Well, God is here with us, all of us. Whatever we experience, God experiences. And this same God is experienced by all of us. If we are all within God, and this God calls us towards solidarity and community with others. So, in closing, I'll say, if you're one who is thinking a lot these days about impending crises or a cascading catastrophe that may be on the horizon, that so much is about to be lost, and that so much is at stake, then think about what is yet possible. Think about this time of transition, this time of transformation, this time of unveiling as an invitation. How will we find our way? Through love, compassion, justice, and gratitude. Amen.